Is the United States beyond repair, a house in the process of collapsing? This is a real fear now with the new government, the new structure of power. And let's just think back. Before the election, conservatives said publicly that this election was the most important election. And that was not really boilerplate rhetoric. We may have heard it before, but we meant it this time. And we can't now take it back. We can't say, oh, by the way, we were exaggerating. We were kidding. The United States is going to be just fine. Land of opportunity. No. The left may see itself as progressive. They're moving toward a glorious future. But I think we recognize that there are warning signals. To put it differently, the termites are now inside the building. And this causes in me a greater alarm than I've had politically in all the years I've been in the United States. Because for an immigrant, it would be crushing to see the United States go down, to see the house collapse. I think back, in fact, to my years growing up in India. And I grew up under socialism, in fact, democratic socialism. When I hear the rhetoric of socialism, it's very familiar to me. And I want to talk about what that experience actually felt like. The first ingredient of it was the pervasiveness of corruption everywhere. I remember once as a kid, I was on a train and I went past my station and I was with a friend of mine. And when I got off the train, there was a ticket man standing there, and he goes, I'm gonna write you a ticket for a fine. Show me your identification. And so I did, and I got the big ticket for a fine. And as we were walking away, my friend goes, Dinesh, you're such an idiot. I said, what do you mean? He goes, you're supposed to slip a 20 rupee note into the plastic sleeve with your identification. That's what he was looking for. He doesn't want to write you a ticket. He wants money for himself. And that's just a small example of the pervasiveness of corruption. It also occurs in a big way. Several years ago in India, a Bollywood star driving really fast after a kind of a wild night on the town, drives on the pavement and kills a bunch of people. But when he comes up at trial, he produces all these fake witnesses who say they were there, and he didn't do it. In fact, somebody else was driving the car, even though he was clearly in the car with the actual victims, identify him. But nevertheless, there's a big court case that goes on for years, and in effect, the guy is able to get away with it. So there are two classes of people: the elite, who are connected and powerful, and they get away with everything, and then the ordinary guy who gets away with nothing and is in fact often targeted or screwed over. I once talked to my father about what would happen if one was publicly critical of the government. And he goes, well, you can't do it. This is India. He said, if you do it, somebody will come to your house or your school and break your legs. And you just have to think of that as the way we live around here. That is life in India. I thought about my own life as I grew up, and I realized that there was no opportunity. The only life available to me was to live the same life that my father lived. And my father lived a life which was middle class. We did have a car, but interestingly, our car was so old that when you looked at the floor, you could actually see the road. There were holes in the car. And I thought to myself, this is a country where my destiny is just given to me. When I came to America, I saw something amazing, which was, first of all, the country was clean. And I don't just mean clean in the sense of sanitary. I mean, the corruption, while I knew it existed, did not infest every aspect of American life. And second, I saw ladders of opportunity, not just a chance to make a better life for myself, but the chance to be the architect of my own life, to have a destiny not given to me so much as constructed by me. I think this is really why the idea of America is so appealing, particularly to young people worldwide. But this is all now in jeopardy because we have a group of people in charge and they don't really believe in the American dream. And they want to take America in a different direction, which for us means they want to take it down. The very elements of American exceptionalism that I cherished they abhor, they despise. And so when people ask me things like, do you want Biden to succeed? My obvious answer is no. I mean, in a generic sense, I want America to succeed. But I don't think it's going to succeed with Biden. I don't think it's going to succeed if the left has its way. Ultimately, these are people, you may almost say, who are steering the Titanic toward the iceberg. A very alarming thought. And quite frankly, if America goes down, and Debbie and I discuss this occasionally, where do we go? Is there a place to go? Now, I actually was chuckling, ruefully chuckling a few days ago. I saw an article in the New York Post. Humans could move to floating asteroid belt colony within 15 years. Apparently, there's an asteroid belt out there. It's not the moon. It's not Mars. It's only 325 million miles away from the Earth. But according to a Finnish meteorologist and astrophysicist, Pekka Janhunen, the Finnish Meteorological Institute in Helsinki, he thinks we can do it, and we can do it in 15 years. Now, I do caution you that the guy is from Finland. I think drugs are legal in Finland, aren't they, Debbie?
I think so.
You think so too?
Yep.
I don't know. So it could be that this guy has been, hitting the marijuana. I'm not saying he is. But, and I mention this, as I say, a little ruefully because there is no place to go. I'm not going anywhere. Quite honestly, if the ship goes down, I guess I'm going to go down with it. I've already done my immigrant relocation. I'm not relocating. But America has been the hope of the world. No civilization is permanent. And in fact, civilizations that go down typically never come back. It's not they don't survive. They just don't flourish anymore. Look at the ancient Greeks. They were great in the 5th century BC. They're gone. They're not coming back. Look at the Romans. Look at the Ottomans. Turkey was at one point, you could almost call it the capital of the world. Really, not today. The British Empire, once the sun set on the British Empire, it was never going to rise again, at least not over there. So we got to remember that we have, as America, one shot at this. And for the first time in my adult lifetime, I think that it's America itself that hangs in the balance. So our job, and it's a daunting one, is to be the voice of reason, the prophetic voice of criticism, the political voice of resistance and block and tackle. And I want this show to be an intelligent, bold, witty way of challenging these entrenched orthodoxies, attacking this progressivism for the bogus system it is. I have a funny video to show you to close out this monologue. And it's a video that I made actually a couple of years ago that I think sums up the argument I'm trying to make and sums up my view of modern progressivism. It's called The Ant and the Termite. Here it is. To understand the central divide in American politics, it helps to think about the distinction between the ant and the termite. Now, the ant is very industrious. I've been reading the Harvard scholar E.O. Wilson, an authority on ants, and he points out that the ant can be an individualist. But at the same time, ants like to work together. They will cooperate voluntarily to haul food. Wilson notes that you want to be careful in dealing with the ant. The ant is a leave-me-alone type of guy. Ants don't like you to mess with them. Now, the termite, by contrast, is not so much of a builder. The termite is really a destroyer. I've been reading an authority on termites, Saul Alinsky, in his book Rules for Radicals, and he points out that termites need to be no less industrious than ants in accomplishing termite objectives. Now, it's easy to be dismissive of the termite and consider the termite in a purely negative light, but try to look at the world from the point of view of the termite. If termites could talk, they would call what they do progress.